got enough gas, enough hormone, and you got your period. And then 6 months later, you got it again. So it's that kind of a thing. It's pooping out slowly. Slowly is not functioning, but it dries up like that. Yes.
I'm gonna tell a funny story.
Mhm.
This happened to me.
Your car ran out of gas?
No, listen. Like, how do you call the surgery that the woman's when like some advanced age women get to remove the uterus because it's like causing problems?
A hysterectomy.
Did that. So,
Okay.
I used to work on a Dunkin' Donuts.
Mhm.
And there was this lady. She was like 74 years
Uh-huh.
old. And one day, she came every day to get coffee. And one day she tells me that I'm a really handsome man. And I'm like, okay, thank you and whatever. Like, and then she comes and she tells me, oh, I have this thing where they remove my uterus. And then she told me the name of the surgery. And she told me, and do you know that 2% of the women that get that surgery gets like really high dry sex? And I'm like, wait, what? I didn't know what to do. Like, she was like,
TMI.
it's crazy. Yes, it was crazy. Like, I was even like, you're still like 4 years old. Like,
I'll tell you what. A lot of times, a lot of women after a hysterectomy can feel much better about sex because if they had a fibroid or they had some sort of tumor or a prolapse where everything's hanging out, you don't want to have sex because it hurts. So a lot of times, once they do a hysterectomy, you're like, ooh, okay, I can do this 365 days a year, and I don't have to worry about this. So a lot of times, women feel better after they have a hysterectomy because whatever problem they were having was either making them bleed, they couldn't have sex, or hurt. So a lot of times, at 72, I doubted that she even had gasoline there, but you never know. You never know. I have an 80-year-old that still, her and her husband, still, we were asking her, one of the questions that in gynecology, when you're interpreting, they'll ask the women, how often do you have sex and how many partners do you have? And and whether they're 100 years old, and which sometimes can be inappropriate for some of our older ladies. And so this lady, I figured she was going to say, oh no, I don't have sex or whatever. And then she says, oh, like once a month, it depends. He has been feeling a little sick lately, so only once a month. And I was like, you go. No. I wouldn't. But I said it here, right? You and me would be like, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Nothing happened to me freaking shocked me. Like,
Yeah, I know, I can shock you. It's a little too much information she was giving you, right?
So with the menopause, that means there's no more eggs being grown up.
Exactly.
'Cause
Yeah.
every woman has only a certain amount of eggs.
Exactly. We're born with a certain amount of eggs already programmed into our system. The only time we produce more eggs than the program tells us is when we do in vitro, when we do artificial insemination, and they force us to have more eggs. So they give us all these hormones, and we can produce like 10, 12 eggs. We're like a gallina, like a chicken. We're like a chicken. And it was like, because we can produce 10 and 12 eggs, 18 eggs. The younger the woman is, the more eggs they produce. Like, let's say a woman in her 40s will produce 5 to 7 eggs, which is not good enough, because half of that probably will not work. And the other half may be weak. So if they're lucky, they get one baby out of there. But a younger woman who has infertility issues, let's say like endometriosis or hirsutism, hormone problems, may have 18 to 20 eggs. So, and those we can freeze. We can put 4 inside. On a woman who's young, we won't put more than 4. At the breakup, we won't put more than 4 because it's a 50-50. Like, I don't know where these women who have 8 kids come out from and 10 kids. I'm like, oh my God, all these ladies, they got infertility treatments. Optimum, yes. Those, I have no idea, because usually for infertility treatments, we never put that amount of eggs because it's too dangerous. Too dangerous for the babies and the moms.
I have one more really strange question.
No.
So my daughter has a daughter,
Mhm.
and somebody said that some of how does that work? Something to do with eggs from the grandmother How does it, no,
Not surrogate.
no, my body,
Mm-hmm.
because I had my daughter,
Mm-hmm.
and she came from here,
Right.
from me, that she was carrying something from me that she brings
The
on.
genes.
But, that's
Genetics.
genes, no, but somebody said eggs.
No, no.
What is that? Genes.
They may be talking about, we inherit things, right, from parents. But let's say that in some cases, a woman may only be able to have one child. And for some reason, they couldn't get pregnant and only got one child out of there. So then sometimes you will figure that out, if that person had problems getting pregnant, that the daughters would probably have the same
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah.
But they have a 50-50. But no,
Yeah.
your eggs do not have anything to do with your
No.
daughter's eggs. And
I
then,
thought it was weird, okay.
yeah, I'm not sure what they're talking
I
about,
didn't know.
besides the genetics.
No, okay.
Excuse me, what?
Yes,
Why do you say 50-50?
50-50 because we inherit 50 from mom and 50 from dad.
No, when you're talking about.
Oh, the eggs?
Yeah,
Because usually most of the time the eggs may not develop because they're being artificially developed. They will not develop all of them and it's healthy. Most of the time, some of them the embryos may not be healthy and they will not survive the procedure. And so usually it's like a 50-50 they will survive.
Oh.
We lose usually half of them. And it's because of the artificial means that we have around. We try to make it as warm and as healthy, and like if it's the uterus, but it's not the uterus. So that's why. So when we're doing a dilatation and curettage, let's say that we want to do a biopsy inside, right up here, because we saw something in ultrasound. We saw a shadow here. So we want a biopsy there. What we have to do is, we can try doing this in the office. I would suggest not, but sometimes you can do it in the office, especially if you had a lot of natural births, not natural, vaginal births. And because that means that this cervix is already a little bit open, because every time you have a baby, that opens up a little bit, it's a little looser. The more babies, the little looser it is. That's why usually labors are a little quicker, the more babies you have, because the muscle has gotten used to opening up and now it knows what to do. As soon as you start labor, oh, I know what to do. Now it knows what to do. That's why when you are pregnant for delivering for the first time, usually, normally, doesn't know what to do, so it's like, what am I supposed to do? So labor takes forever because it's just one time and it hasn't done it. The second pregnancy, but some women deliver really early. My boss's daughter, first baby, she was doing the same time as my daughter, and she delivered 3 weeks early. And she was in labor for 5 hours. 5 hours, and she delivered the kid in 5 hours. It was really quickly for someone who had never had a baby before. So one of my coworkers delivered within 2 hours. So it's like, it's from start to finish, which is highly unusual, because you usually contract, and that's how you dilate. So when we need to go here, we have to dilate this a little bit. If this is too dry or too close, we have to open it up, force it open with dilators, these little cookie things that go up like that. It's very uncomfortable. And we put in a little thing that looks like a straw. It bites down on the piece that we want, just a tiny piece, and pull it and come out. That's a biopsy. We do it very quickly. It takes around, quickly is 10 minutes. It feels like 2 hours. It's like 10 minutes. It's very uncomfortable. It feels like a very strong period, really strong period. And from there, we can send it to pathology to tell us what it is, whether we have to do. So that's a dilatation and curettage. Curettage is because we dry this up so you don't bleed a lot. You still have a little staining. Yes?
So why do some get cramps and others do not?
What I was mentioning earlier, sometimes if they've had a lot of babies, the cervix is a little bit already opened, so they don't need like the dilatation, so that saves you a whole bunch of pain right there. But that's like the dilatation is like the beginning of labor, those cramps that you get, the really bad ones. So that's what the dilatation part is. So if you already have babies and that's open, nicely open and soft, then we don't have to force it open and save yourself a lot of pain. that part where we go in and pinch and pull, that hurts, but that's done so quickly that you have one cramp and that's it.
And I'm so sorry, I wasn't clear. Maybe specify. Menstrual cramps.
Oh, menstrual cramps.
I apologize.
Oh, no, it's okay. No, I was thinking of the cramps for this. Menstrual cramps, usually, not everybody has the same thing. The uterus is a muscle. So the uterus contracts, and it usually contracts when you have clots or a lot of bleeding. So notice that a lot of times you may have, when you have a lot of cramps, it's because you're bleeding heavy. So, and you're passing some thick clots or tiny clots. So one of the things that happens is that the clots, when the clot goes through here, this has to open. So it gives you that contraction because it literally has to open. So a lot of, if you have a lot of heavy bleeding or clotting, that has to open up a little bit, and that's like a contraction. That's an actual contraction. So, and some people have more, because of the hormones, some people have more cramps than others. I have friends that they go swimming, they do this, they do that. Me, I was in the hospital, I was like, oh, put me out because I was so bad. And also if you have fibroids give you a lot of bleeding and a lot of pain. So if there are little tiny fibroids in there, they're troublemakers. There's no reason to remove them, but they do give you heavier periods.
Maybe endometriosis is also heavy bleeding might be a symptom.
Endometriosis, usually those little implants are acting up at your period time. So instead of acting up in one whole area, which is the uterus, no, they're acting up not only in the uterus because the cells are there, right? But the ones that escape, wherever they implanted, they're also acting out in there. It could be in the intestine. Sometimes people feel like in the rectum because they implanted in the intestines. It's pretty bad. All right, really good questions, guys. So this is some implant of endometriosis, so you can see it. These are fibroids. So fibroids look like fatty tissue. The implants are right there for the endometriosis. So you can see those little tiny implants, but they're so tiny, but they're so bad. They're really troublemakers. Here, and like this kind of fibroid, this is what we call submucosal, that is like in the wall here. And this is easy to take out. So we can go in there, we go like this, scoop it out, and take it out. Fibroids love blood because your hormones feed the fibroids. So the younger you are when you have fibroids, the bigger they'll get. So if you are in your 50s, by the time you go through menopause, the lack of hormones in the ovaries will shrink them, and they'll look like grapes, dried up grapes, when they shrink. But as you're young, they'll start getting bigger. They don't get smaller; they usually get bigger.
Are they fat?
No, they look like fat, but
What
they're
are
not.
they actually made out of?
It's tissue.
Just tissue.
It's tissue, and it's fed by the vessels in your uterus. So usually we have a procedure that we do the artery that feeds the muscle itself of the uterus. We sometimes can try to block it so that it doesn't feed it directly, and then they shrink. But most of the time we can just go in through here, and we can do that through a hysteroscopy, which may be a word that is in there. I don't know if it's in there. No, it's one of the added words that I gave you guys, a
Yes.
hysteroscopy.
Yeah.
A hysteroscopy is the word, it sounds like hysterectomy.